Welcome to the Duval dive. I would love if this was on better terms, Duval, but obviously it is not. This is Travis Holmes with BigCatCountry.com, and that is Kyle, the student of the game, Nash, on assignment. From is it the Magic Arena?
The Kia Center, that's right. The
The
Orlando
Keys.
Magic are hosting the Celtics tonight. I am pulling double duty today in what has been a rough and tumble weekend for basically everybody I've been covering, but I'll get into that later. Um, Travis, my take is looking crackheady all of a sudden.
Yeah. Yeah, your take that the Jaguars will be the AFC South champions and be, that's looking mighty shaky right now. As the Jaguars take a fourth quarter tumble, take a dive in the fourth quarter, giving up 26 points and scoring zero in the fourth quarter after being up 19 points. That's rough, man.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. Rough is to get started. I think it's even worse. So much was working for the Jags early, right? The Jarian Jones interception, Parker Washington going full Parker Washington once again with a great touchdown catch, the special team score. And from there, it just kind of all takes a tumble. I refuse to call it a dive because this is a good show, and we have nothing to do with that collapse, sir. I'm just saying.
All right, that's fair. And the dive could be interpreted to be like a dive in boxing, and that means you did it on purpose, and then all of that, whatever. You know what I'm saying? At
We
the
have
end of the
enough
day,
gambling highlights out there or headlines out there right now, right?
but at the end of the day, Brent Martineau, they put it out very clearly. Like since the 29-10 lead with a minute and 33 seconds left in the third quarter, Houston had 33 plays for 209 yards and 20 points, and the Jaguars had 9 plays for 1 net yard, 0 points, and 4 minutes and 2 seconds of time of possession. Now that time of possession thing is obviously important because normally you can make the argument that the Jaguars are trying to run out clock, trying to figure out ways to milk it and things of that nature because they've done that in past games where they take the lead and you'll talk to Cohen in the post game and he'll say something along the lines of, we were in control of the game. We were just trying to get out of the game with the victory, whatever. Now I understand that. But this wasn't that. When you have multiple 3-and-out straight,
Yeah.
and you can't buy a first down at that point, and your offense is getting 1 net yard in the fourth quarter, and your defense is giving up touchdowns left and right. Ooh, it's a rough combination, brother.
And it's not just the giving up of touchdowns, it's giving them up to Davis Mills, Travis, having them third down and deep in their own territory for what would be the
Yeah.
go ahead score. And then that clears. It's just, I know that there's enough blame to go around, but a 26-point collapse, and granted, a Sheldon Rankins interception is a fine way to add insult to injury at the end. And yeah, here comes the Walker Little stuff.
Just so
Cool,
much.
but Walker Little doesn't make a pass rush happen from the front four.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. Walker Little was a part of it, sure. I mean, there was,
Absolutely.
there were the games that they were playing up front where guys are coming inside and still getting sacks. They're
Mhm.
like I've often said in the past, so I'm gonna keep it consistent. If the sack comes on third down and the guys and Trevor Lawrence is trying to make a play, it is what it is. Like that's a coverage sack. That's the guys. That's the receivers not being open necessarily. Like I'm not necessarily going to just give the offensive line smoke from that. But if you're talking an early down play, you're talking first and second down sack, then I got problems. That wasn't necessarily what it was today. I didn't think Trevor Lawrence was like under turmoil all day. Still wasn't a great day for the offensive line. It wasn't a great day for the run blocking on the offensive line across the board, but it definitely was a team loss. And I don't think that's much of an argument. I mean, the only side of the ball I can say maybe played well was just special teams. Like they were carrying the day basically.
Yeah, I think that's a good take too. And the Texans gave themselves plenty of ammunition for my side of the argument that they're a better line overall than the Seahawks, or at least the Jags made them look like that today.
That's rough because I don't think that's actually true for at all. Radius says there were more bad performances than good ones today.
Oh yeah,
I'm even sick of Trevor. I never thought I'd be sick of Trevor. That's true. Radius is a Trevor fan. Like he's a stand of all the ways. And Radius saying I'm sick of Trevor right now is saying a lot. That's carrying some weight, brother.
no
Um,
facts.
and I didn't know that Trevor played like horrendous. He had some plays that had me scratching my head for sure. But that's the part that makes this so weird to me. Just being real.
Well, I'm
I
going to
didn't
play the
think.
role of. Let me play the role of Travis D. Holmes today. He had two dropped interceptions by my count. that were inside defenders' hands and it wasn't finished. And by the way, in the fourth quarter, if Azeez Al-Shaair picks off Trevor Lawrence, how angry is the Duval are the Duval devout if that happens? Thank goodness he dropped that.
I mean, that's fair, but the one interception, the one-hander, I mean, the Derek Stingley one-handed interception.
That was a good ball.
That was a good ball. That was really on the receiver's chest, and it was a one-handed catch. And as much as I know people they were arguing over that at the half, because again, the Jaguars left 3 points on the field at that point. I'm like, he put the chest of a backup receiver. Remember that. And Stingley just goes with one hand. I don't even have the other angle, but Stingley goes with it with one hand, like 7-8 inches off the ground, like, and reels it in and gets his hand underneath.
Yeah,
I can't give Trevor all the smoke on that. Like sometimes the other dude just makes a hell of a play.
Behind him, I'll grant that, but at some point we've acknowledged on this show that Derek Stingley is the best person on the field, wearing a Houston Texan jersey at this point in time.
I mean, yeah, for the most part, I think I agree with that. Like, he's a dang good cornerback, and you knew that when he got his contract. But Storm the Desert, for everyone saying they're sick of Trevor, yes, he didn't play well, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head in the second half that was truly his fault. Everything became bland, and the offensive line just kind of fell apart. And yeah, I think that's actually reasonable. Like, as much as people are going to always blame the quarterback when the offense is not doing well, and this offense didn't do well, and your quarterback got 158 yards, and they didn't really struggle struggle with drops. That's what makes this weird. But then the receivers also didn't get separation. Yeah, but that's what you expected when you didn't have Brian Thomas Jr. playing, when you did only have the guys who are good at catching the ball and good at taking contact and good at contested catches, but not really good at like making your defense back up. And actually opening up the field basically is what I'm getting at. Like again, I originally said I predicted that the Jaguars would lose this game, and everyone hated me for it. And that's not, and this wasn't even the game that I thought it was going to be. I didn't think they were going to give up 300 yards passing to Dave Mills. I didn't think that Trevor Lawrence was going to have less than 175 yards passing. Like, I didn't think people would take the under on Trevor Lawrence 175 on Hard Rock, but here we are.
Here we are.
So Travis Etienne not getting 60 yards rushing, that I did say was going to happen, though. I said I had concerns that the Jaguars weren't going to be able to run the ball. And for folks, for the first 3 quarters of this game, it looked very much like I was crazy. And now the Jaguars are doing just enough to keep the ball moving, just enough to kind of keep this thing moving along. And then you saw it when they needed a first down, when they needed a touchdown, when they needed a drive, they couldn't buy one. And that's what this was.
Yeah, there were entirely too many. And by the way, the positive I'll take from this game, you mentioned that the special teams was the strength. Cam Little's back, y'all. Okay. Making the 50-plus yarder look like a chip shot and then hitting it again later from 30-something after the penalty was received, which the offense did nothing with, by the way. What? Cam Little's back. I'll take him out of the doghouse. I'm with it.
3 of 3. Yeah, that's it, man. Cam Little, 3 of 3 and 2 of 2 on extra points with a long of 53 after having a 55-yarder taken off the board. So really,
was it 55? Wow, yeah, I forgot it was that long, but I knew it was more than 50.
Yeah, so basically being 4-4, and then you have Logan Cook, who was reasonably well. He did have one bad punt overall, like, but that's going to happen ever so often. And then obviously you have Parker Washington. This was very much a Parker Washington game. Like, he didn't do as much in the receiving game, but also Trevor Lawrence had 158 yards passing. But the punt return set the Jaguars up 17-0. And at one point, you're up 19 points in the game. Nice celebration, also. Shout out Parker.
By the way, real quick, the people out there begging for the ball to be run more are suddenly very quiet as Trevor only threw it 23 times. Now, granted, that's a little bit of box score watching on my part, but I don't. This is if the criticism is that the Jags didn't run the ball enough. I'll put it this way: to your point, like you said, the Texans were stopping it.
Well, it's that the Jaguars were given this game, this Week 10 loss to the Houston Texans was absolutely, in very many ways, just a mirror of the Jacksonville Jaguars 2025 season so far. Like, they were playing against a backup quarterback that they lost against. They were playing against a very hobbled Houston Texans team who still played them in a dogfight. And the Jacksonville Jaguars defense gave them massive turnovers to open up the game, and they were looking very dominant. And as soon as those turnovers dried up, it became a real dog fight. It became real ugly, real messy, and all of that. And then, yes, they did have the one call that went the other team's way with the bad pass interference call.
Terrible, asinine call.
Yeah, that made it feel a lot like the Cincinnati situation right there.
Good take.
But overall, the fact of the matter, and Liam's always going to say it, you never leave it into the ref's hands. You never allow it to get that close, especially when you're up 19 points and 17 points at two different points in the game. So where do you go from there? Like, it's the fact of the matter is they never had very much success sustaining drives in this game from start to finish. They just had the turnover. They gave them short fields, and they had the 10 points off turnovers early on and a punt return touchdown. That's it. Like, that's the difference in the game right there, those 17 points. But outside of that, you have the dogfight that everyone kind of predicted it was going to be, right?
No, again, a fantastic take from you on that, Travis. And I'll even add this. The defense for the first three quarters, I feel like they did their part, of course, right? Only 10 points allowed at that point. First multi-turnover game in a while, I think. You know, it was starting to pile up. Had a couple sacks in the first quarter. It made me look super smart for picking what they would do against the Texans. And then that final quarter happened.
Oh, man. Yeah. And Kav Hack says O-line was horrible, resulting in the defense getting gassed in the fourth quarter.
I like that take. It's not, I don't know that it's everything, but I think it's a factor. I'll agree with that.
Resulting in the defense getting gassed in the fourth quarter. And that's where I don't know how I feel about that, because the defense was also struggling to get off the field, right? Like they had a few punts. They did the thing early on. But then when you're talking after the second quarter, there was an 8-play, 61-yard drive. You have the touchdown drive that was 5 plays. You have the halftime. Then in the third quarter, you have a 7-play drive. Fourth quarter, you have a 13-play drive. Yeah, 6-play drive, 14-play drive. Like, I don't know what you're referencing when you say the Jaguars defense is gassed, because the Jaguars defense was struggling to get off the field for basically much of that game outside of the first quarter.
True, and then the offense didn't do their part either in the fourth to keep that in line. It's not a perfect take, but to your point, 3 and outs aren't going to do it in a crucial situation.
But the fact of the matter is, we knew this was going to be a difficult defense. We knew it was going to be a very difficult defense walking into the game. Like, even when they were losing all these games every week, on and on and on, they were losing them closely. Like, and we talked about it. We laid it out in this week's Duval dive. Hey, they lost this game by 5. They lost that game by 3. They lost this game by 2, whatever it was. And this is going to be one of those types of.
Yeah, the very last play for Devon Hamilton. And I think we both mentioned this. It's something I'm just now spotting in the comments here. I lost it or else I'd throw it up. But like the defensive, what was my X factor is the 4-man rush doing what they needed to do, right? They did not today. Not for 4 quarters anyway.
They couldn't get home. On the touchdown play that Montaric Brown gives up to Dalton Schultz, and when he gets the 2-feet toe tap in the back of the end zone, I mean, if you're in the red zone, I believe they were at like the 13-yard line because of the penalties and everything else. You can't have plus 4 seconds. Like, I don't know if it was 4.2, 4.3, but it was more than 4 seconds with no room. Like, you're basically just chasing the guy for basically 30 yards, essentially, because of how much room he can move side to side, horizontally across the field. Very few defenses are going to work when you have just that much time and you guys can't buy pressure. You can't buy a sack. And that's what's rough. I mean, that's why the Duval fan base right now keeps saying, like, hey, man, what happened to our pass rush? What happened to Josh Hines-Allen? What happened to Trevon Walker? That was not the showing you want to see when you're playing a pocket passer, not a scrambler, not someone who's generally going to, like, you're playing Davis Mills, bro, and you can't get home. It ain't going to get much easier for most of these NFL offenses.
And oh, by the way, that same Davis Mills ran in the final touchdown. What is going on here?
Which feels very much like Peyton Manning scrambling. Like, it just feels very much like that. Yeah, this is the worst feeling ever. Trevor must go. I really would love to hear, like, Trevor made some bonehead plays. Like, again, I said it when he almost threw an interception to Stingley that also hit De'Ami Brown in the stomach because it went through Stingley's hands and into De'Ami's chest. But also, outside of like a play like that and the near interceptions, which were like guys jumping at the line of scrimmage, so I don't know how much I can call it a near interception for real. how much of that is just Trevor playing badly versus how much of that is just the guys not getting open because you are still down to your wide receiver 3 and wide receiver 4 versus a damn good NFL offense.
No,
Defense. Sorry.
I mean, what more could be added to that? And again, at the end of the day, forget the 26. Yeah, exactly. You put it all in a comment.
Defense choked.
Regardless
Charlie
of the
boy.
Sheldon Rankins interception, 20 points in the fourth quarter to Davis Mills. Good God, man.
And that's after giving up, what was it, 14 points to Vegas last week, which is 20 points if you want to include overtime. So you have 2 games where you are up, but you have the control of it, and your defense cannot get a stop when they have to get a stop. And, you know, as much as we gave Anthony Campanelli the credit and much as we patted him on the back earlier in the season saying, you know, he won't be in Jacksonville for very long and all of those accolades and comments, objectively, you have to give him that same level of smoke when these boys are struggling. And even with Devin Lloyd back, and they got the turnovers, they are struggling to cover guys. Foye Oluokun, 3rd and 10, gives up the long catch to Dalton, Schultz. And I'm like, Schultz is not the kind of person that's beating you with speed, but Foye's not the guy who's beating you with speed either. And it's just
something made his feet stop when he was running across, and I don't know what it was, but if he had run with him, I saw the exact moment where he planted his foot instead of following him, and he got him over the top. But to your point, and you mentioned this, I don't know if you remember on the Duval dive on Wednesday, like the tight end. I don't have my bell. I'm on site. The tight end was an issue with Brock Bowers. You cited that their other good tight ends are meeting on the schedule. Well, now it was a problem. After this game, it is a trend. What will Coach Campanelli do to counter? Because more teams are going to come with that.
Yeah, but it's weird because I didn't consider Dalton Schultz one of those level of tight ends that will even be a problem for the Jaguars, and he even gave them issues today. So if you have your normal, and again, that's not to demean Dalton Schultz. He's a great veteran NFL tight end. He's that, but he's an average NFL tight end, and I don't think I'm demeaning him by saying that. That's still like, there's nothing wrong with mid. Mid is fine, but he is that, and if you can't get that sort of a guy down, then I don't know where you go from there as far as your linebacker roster, as far as your safety roster, as far as all that's concerned. And maybe that's something that's a known that they still have a few, a free agent period in the draft and everything else to kind of get this roster where they need it to be. But it's not working when you can't stop a Davis Mills led offense, Houston Texans offense, from scoring 26 points in the fourth quarter. My God.
In fairness, 6 of those are Sheldon Rankins. It's only 20 that the offense. It's still bad. What are we doing?
It's 20 points in the fourth quarter after you just gave up a boatload of points in the fourth quarter to Geno Smith, who then follows up that next week against the Denver Broncos and just doesn't look great at all. Like, I mean, what are we talking about? The Radius says Tootin managed to return the ball to the 45 and we still couldn't get into field goal range.
Yeah.
That's it, man. And the fact of the matter is, like, Chuma Edoga, the 2 times you heard his name today, came on big penalties that just wiped out big plays for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and that's just rough, man.
They bring you in as a tight end for an unbalanced line, and you still get penalties. Come on.
Yeah, that's rough. But also, I believe it happened last week. Also,
probably did.
I would need to look at the specific stats because I know the 6th lineman was often Chuma, was ever so often Chuma, but it was also Cole Van Lannon at that time. Cole Van Lannon, who ended up starting at left guard today. And actually, I didn't hear much from his name. So I can't necessarily say without a rewatch that he played terribly. It's just they just couldn't establish the run. They couldn't consistently establish the run. I believe Travis Etienne didn't even have 4 yards of carry overall. It was at 3.6 yards of carry for Travis Etienne. You had Bashaw Tootin, who averaged only on his 4 carries, 1.3 yards of carry. Your leading receiver was Jacoby Myers, who just got onto the team, who hadn't even had much of a time to learn the full offense. The announcer stated that Liam Cohen basically advised that Jacoby knows about 75% of the offense currently right now. And he still hadn't had any mental errors as far as his alignments were concerned in practice this week. And I think that's great. But your leading receiver has 41 yards catching, 41 yards receiving. And that's Jacoby Myers with Parker Washington with 33 yards. So, if I give you these stats, Leading receiver 41 yards. Leading running back has 58 yards, but averaging 3.6 yards a carry. Quarterback has 150 yards. You're probably telling me that the Jaguars are going to lose that game, right? Like,
yeah. Well, and you know, you mentioned
without telling you the other stuff.
You mentioned Van Lanen having a good day. Of course, you didn't hear his name much. He was probably facing one-on-ones all day because Donnell Hunter was looking like a champion against Walker Little. So, you know, if you're having that success, you're not attacking through that other hole. You're going to keep beating up on the left tackle. Just throwing that out there.
Yes. So, Storm says Jags spend more time playing against themselves than they do playing the opponent. Maybe I think maybe I can get down with that, like on most of the games. But how much of this just felt like one, the Jaguars couldn't establish anything offensively. Two, the Jaguars couldn't stop Davis Mills, but it really didn't feel like they were like. It didn't feel like the Jaguars were dropping balls left and right. It didn't feel like they had penalties like that left and right, even though at the end of the game they did have 9 for 90 yards, and that actually feels bigger, but you got like a big penalty for the pass interference. If you want to look at the yards from that perspective, and I would need to look at the specifics of the penalties just to kind of make sure, because I'm like, I don't know. That feels like a lot, but it didn't feel like a lot in this game.
There's some holds, there's some hands to the face, and the reason why it doesn't feel like a lot, Travis, is because there were 11 penalties for the Texans. Side. So, you know, there were certain elements of that as well.
Huh. That's interesting, man. But like, so they have so many questions. And again, the Jaguars walked into this game with a boatload of questions. Like, that's where this thing kind of gets weird. Because again, when I said the Jaguars were going to lose, and then when Gus Logue at Big Cat Country also said the Jaguars were going to lose this game, and we didn't talk about that before the game. We just came to an agreement that the Jaguars were going to lose. And then I talked to Mia, who said the Jaguars were going to lose. And I was like, oh, dang. So did everybody say the Jaguars were going to lose? I thought it was a crazy take. And apparently we all predicted that the Jaguars were going to lose this game because it was a bad matchup against a really good defense, and you're missing a lot of the staples of your offense. And yeah, that's kind of how it worked out. Like, they just got off to a fast start with special teams, and that helped them out. And maybe if they could have played with that confidence, possibly they could have kind of held on to this win. But no, they obviously couldn't, and that's kind of why we landed where we landed. But yeah, Robert says it's Jacksonville. Nothing has ever been sure with this team. Face it. And just letting you guys know behind the curtain, Kyle texted me during the game. He was like, yeah, man, something along the lines of like, basically,
all I said was
the Jaguars are going to win this game.
What I said was I took the liberty of putting the winning thumbnail in. And I made a joke about
thumbnail for the show. Yes.
And I made a joke about Tyler Dragon still being in Travis's head for pointing out how many times he picked the Jags up before the Rams game. That's all I said. Well,
and I said to Nash, I am not ready to consider this. I am not ready to consider this a win because this team makes me drink enough not to trust it yet. And that was in the second quarter before the Trevor Lawrence interception that took 3 points off the board. Because I knew then, I'm like, we'll see. Because they haven't done anything on offense yet, and they never did throughout the rest of the game. The engine never turned over.
Well, even still, with the offense not doing well, I didn't expect the defense to disappear the way they did as well, Travis.
But they've done it so many games now. Like, I hate the fact that I haven't done the research, the pre-work to just confirm it, and I would hate to have to do it live on the air here. But the gist of it is, they've had a few games this season where they've given up 10 plus points, we'll say, in the fourth quarter. And we've talked to Liam Cohen about it in his post game after the game, and he'll say something along the lines of, hey, we controlled the game. Yeah, we got to figure out ways to close that out on offense, but we controlled the game and it wasn't as close as it felt, blah, blah, blah. And that's all actually factual. But also, they are still giving up those points. And now it's actually hurting them in multiple games where it's not, you can't even make the argument that, hey, you won, so you can just wipe it to the side and just dismiss it. Now you have to have a real conversation about it, because it's like, no, you're giving up these points and you're losing games because of it, and your offense still can't score in these fourth quarters, and it's a bad combination of factors.
And I'll say this too, in Coach Cohen's defense, he sweeps it away in the press conference because that's what he's supposed to do. But you and I both know that on the sideline, he got the lemon booty just as much as any Jaguars fan does.
Yeah. On the side, he cannot be happy about it, right? But he's supposed to sweep it to the side. So if he makes it a big deal out of it, then the media makes a big deal out of it. Then it's his narrative, and then the guys get tight, and it's just not good for your team. I get what he has to say, and I get what he has to do. But we all have eyes. We all know what this is. And at the end of the day, the Jaguars are failing. They are failing situationally, and they are failing in these fourth quarters when they have the opportunity to kind of wrap it up defensively, specifically in this one. But also, I want to make sure I evenly give everyone the smoke. Offensively, you can't have 1 yard, bro. 1 yard. I can nearly do that now with my just not in great shape at all. Like you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 series, right? Am I crazy? 5 series,
and it's 1 net yard. I mean, and granted, that's with Trevor coming up with big scampers and doing things to move the chains. It wasn't like it was a series. I mean, there were a series of series with 3 and outs, but like for any good play, a penalty or a sack would cancel stuff out. And this is what I mean. Travis,
-4 yards, 6 yards, -1 yard.
Learn from the past.
Series.
Stop keeping them in the games. For the love of God, survive. It was a whole thing. Well, apparently we may be in the tropics, but the offense had no thunder.
I mean, but that's it. Again, mega offensive line needs to make Travis Etienne great again. They average 3.6 yards a carry. That's not going to get it done. Give me at least 4 and let me be efficient going for it every once in a while on a 4th down. Play it safe in the red zone. I mean, the Jaguars in the red zone today were what? I don't even know.
Well, to your point, in the red zone, they at least, Travis, were not giving away the ball.
So, sure.
And I mean, the bar's in hell if you're saying that. I understand that. But
like they were 2 or 4 in the red zone. Yeah. That's not terrible. Like it's not dreadful as far as that's concerned. But overall, like so now I would consider that a wash. I said make Etienne great again in the air. Well, I mean, they didn't do that either. Like it's again, the leading receiver period on the team had 40 yards. So that didn't and learn from the past. We obviously haven't done that. So I think we're basically the only thing we did was survive, just not leaving the game with significant injuries. But that's such a low bar. Like you said, the bar's in hell at that point. All you can say is, well, good job, guys. Your injury.
More people didn't get hurt. Exactly. Yeah.
So the positive part of that is at least you have Brian Thomas Jr. hopefully coming back moderately soon. Maybe you have some reinforcements on the offensive side of things that may be coming back, moderately soon, and then you can see what this offense is supposed to be. With another week of Jacoby Myers actually learning in the offense, Eric Armstead did get a sack today. That's something.
No,
I mean I'm trying to be I'm not trying to be positive. I'm trying to just give you those minuscule positives that you might find on this thing. But they've had answers. They've had questions that needed to be answered, and they still have questions that need to be answered as it stands right now because they are going to be in the dogfight for that AFC South. And they took it from 75% chance of making the playoffs with the win that seemed to be in the bag to now having a 40% chance of making the playoffs and truly in the dogfight for that wild card spot in the AFC South with the Colts win and the Jaguars loss.
So
Tobin, Aiden Tobin says, is there one position group on this team that's good? Kicker, Hunter, for sure.
I'm going to say this. I think the defensive backs and the corners would look better if they had any pass rush to support them.
Any pass rush, especially at the D tackle, the D tackle spots. Like again, Eric Armstead might have had a good game, but you didn't hear Devon Hamilton's name, you didn't hear Mason Smith's name. Like there's a reason for that. You heard Travon Walker with the pressure. He couldn't grab with the one hand or 1.5 hands. I don't know that I heard. No, I did. I mean, Josh Hines Allen nearly got the sack that Eric Armstead got. So I guess that I kind of heard his name on that one play, but I didn't hear a lot from him overall.
Somebody will be flashing a tweet during the week about how many pressures JHA got. That's adorable.
Yeah, it's gonna be like 7 or 8 pressures, and then we're gonna be like, all right, man, is it a sack? I mean, is it a sack?
Is it a hurry? I'll take a hurry.
Jarian had a good game. One of the few. Yeah, Jarian did have a dang good game. And that's what sucks is that's going to go under the radar. That's going to go under the cover that Jarian Jones had such a good game. and it was going to be in a losing effort, so people aren't going to pay as much attention about it, and he deserves to have more accolades, to get more kudos for it, unfortunately. Austin Trammell with a couple of clutch catches, and Parker Washington was fantastic in his overall performance, even though he, like, again, 33 yards receiving generally won't get you on like the ESPN cover, but having 2 touchdowns, well, yeah, that's good. That's a great effort for Parker Washington, and that's his opportunity to step up. And it just thinks that it's, again, coming in a losing effort.
I mean, I don't know what more of a bow could be put on that. I will save Wednesday my concerns of what we've seen on Sunday heading into the game hosting Los Angeles and the Chargers. That's a whole thing. But, yeah.
Let's not forget. Yeah, Storm. Sorry, I was just checking out Storms. No illegal shifts, at least.
No illegal shifts.
I guess I didn't realize that they had no illegal shifts today.
Bars in hell. That's all I can say.
The bar is in hell. Yeah. Did Josh Hines Allen play today? I mean, that's kind of what I was saying. Like, that's basically where we are. So yeah, and leave.
Hold on. I'm not throwing smoke. Yeah, I'm not throwing smoke at DeLugo. If anybody's going to actually get stats that we see, it'll probably be Griffiths. But
I mean, fair, but he's a stats dude. Like, so he gonna put, if there's a stat, he's probably putting it out. Dan Griffiths is friend of the show, Action Sports Jazz. So
I'm just making sure he gets his regular episode shout out from us that he deserves. That's all.
But yeah, man. So the Jaguars, weirdly enough, nearly tied in time of possession. The penalties, unfortunately, were nearly tied because Houston had 11 and the Jaguars had 9. And you never want to be that close with it. The penalty for the interception, I'm sorry, for that halftime kind of gave Jacksonville, gave Houston the opportunity to make sure that it was a little bit closer, because that took points off the board, or potential points for the long field goal going out of the halftime off the board. And then you have the Chuma Edoga penalty towards the end of the game that unfortunately meant the Jaguars were not going to have the opportunity for the long field goal to kind of wrap this bad boy up. So they were one play from they snatched defeat from the hands of victory very clearly, and it felt like a very undisciplined team. And it's unfortunate because we've said that probably on 5 different occasions this season, and that's unfortunately how you look at a rookie head coached team. And I'm not saying that is an indictment on Liam Cohen. I think that's actually an indictment on most young head coaches.
Yeah, it's growing pains. There's a difference between growing pains and indictments. I completely agree with that. Yeah.
That's it. And I think it's unfortunate that I thought that they would have some of this stuff kind of figured out over the bye week, and it just hadn't happened. It just hasn't happened. Whether it's penalties, whether it's like they gotten the drops right. So that's progress. Cool. They also got another receiver who just catches the ball well.
Isn't that interesting that the top receivers are out and the drops go away? That's I would argue that's concerning, Travis.
Well, I said it during the game. I'm like, this is by way too early observation. I don't know what to take from this receiving core, but I do know that this Parker Washington and Jacoby Myers wide receiver group are going to have like half a yard of separation on targets, but they're going to catch every dang contested catch because that's what they're good at. They ain't going to have no separation, and it's going to all be like a guy over their face, and they're still catching it, but they are going to catch the vast majority of those balls. And then you just have the other guys who may be faster and actually more athletic, more gifted as far as that's concerned, more explosive, but then they just don't go to the middle of the field. They don't catch those contested balls. They drop a lot more balls. And they're more volatile is my best way of saying it.
Travis, champion, my friend, I am hopeful that we have a short involving they could have somebody all up in their face and still make the catch. I hope we get a short for that on the Duval Dive YouTube channel this week. That is a fantastic take. That's all I have.
So unfortunately, the Jaguars lose to the hated Houston Texans. Nearly had a chance to split for the first time since 2017, and unfortunately now it's like kissing your sister, you just tie and it's like the
They
games
had a
never
chance to
even mattered.
sweep. Yeah, they did split.
Had a chance to sweep, and they split, and that's a very unfortunate. So we obviously going to look at the game on the rewatch on BigCatCountry.com. We're going to look at the game and the rewatch and talk about it on Wednesday's Duval Dive, and kind of chop it up and figure out what things maybe we might have missed that could have helped the Jaguars moving forward, and maybe they'll make some improvements and help us, kind of get this thing out of there. But just let them know where you can be found, sir. We'll get to it.
Champion, thank you for flying so much of the plane as you did today as I'm here at the Kia Center doing the thing. Of course, I'm Kyle Nash, the student. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at the SOTG, making observations about your Jacksonville Jaguars and, of course, the Orlando Magic, as well as my coverage of the UCF Knights football and basketball. Another rough weekend. Football loss, men's basketball loss, women's basketball loss today. I am suffering. Somebody needs to win tonight. I don't care if it's the Magic or the Los Angeles Chargers, and something to happen on tonight's Instant Reaction for the Bolt Blitz Uncut with Luga Peters, 80 Simons and company. So, yeah, somebody please win tonight so I don't have to be completely dreadful for all the teams I'm accompanying. But, yeah, until next time, everyone, class dismissed. Travis, tell them where you could be found.
Well, that can be found on all the socials. Travis D. Holmes. You can find my writing covering the Jacksonville Jaguars at bigcatcountry.com. And yes, you wanted to talk some football. Obviously follow the Duval Dive on TikTok. If you listen to it on YouTube, like and subscribe. Hit us up in the comments. We talk back and forth, even in the comments here. And if you listen to us on the podcast version via the Believe Network, please rate and review us there. Help us out. It helps us out tremendously with the algorithm. But for the most part, again, the Jaguars didn't come through with the win today, but don't let it ruin too much of your Sunday. And we will chop it up on Wednesday's Duval Dive Live. But for the moment, go Jaguars and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And yeah, but Duval, y'all, later.